Hello, I'm probably riding my bike. In my last video, I attempted to talk about what's changed in my 16 years since I moved to Korea for the first time. I ran out of time on the last video, so here's part 2. Just heading out for a coffee ride where I'll talk more about the changes in Korea. Last time I talked about how the skyline has changed, transport, payments going from cash to cashless, cafes and food culture, and just kind of everyday life. Unbelievably, for a bike YouTube channel, I didn't talk about bikes in that video. I'll make sure to fix that in this one. A cyclist's number one enemy, cars, have had a big change over the last 16 years. I was amazed that almost every single car was a Korean brand. Some Hyundai Sonatas everywhere, Carnivals, Kias, and loads of other cars and models I'd never seen or heard of before. You'd only really see foreign cars if someone was extremely wealthy. I think back then their import tax was much higher. Nowadays you see BMW, Volvo, Mercedes, Teslas everywhere. Another trend I've noticed with the cars here, and probably a lot of places around the world, is they've grown much, much bigger. Too big, unnecessarily big. They take up so much space on these little back streets. Usually they just have 1 or 2 people in them as well. I think I need to stop for an espresso to get over my big car rage. When I'm riding up this way, it's hard not to stop for an espresso at this cute little cafe. This is also espresso, and it specialises in what its name suggests, does what it says on the tin. It specialises in espresso, and it also matches my bike. A small little place with some seats on the counter. You can watch the barista pouring your shots on what looks like a vintage Italian espresso machine. I started off with just a regular espresso, no sugar, and enjoyed that while I thought about what to get next. And I could never resist the con panna with a nice serving of cream. A little sweeter. Espresso for main course and this for dessert. I like that most espresso bars in Korea serve it with sparkling water. It's a nice touch. Energized by espresso with caffeine anxiety, I've forgotten what I was even mad about earlier. Let's talk a bit more about what's changed while I do a bit of grocery shopping in this market. A big thing that's changed is smoking. When I left the UK, the smoking ban had been in effect for a while. And I arrived in Korea and I couldn't believe that people were just smoking everywhere. Inside restaurants, bars, karaoke, even inside taxis. After a night out, you just smelt like an ashtray. And I didn't think it would ever change. I knew that they were going to introduce an indoor smoking ban here, but I thought some of the older guys would never give that up. But almost overnight, Korea flipped a switch and suddenly there was no smoking in restaurants inside buildings. And I was amazed how people adapted. You still see a fair few people, mostly older ajashis, smoking on the street. But it's much nicer nowadays, not stinking of an ashtray. When I first came here again, another thing I was amazed by was how futuristic it felt because of all the neon lights everywhere. They're not so prevalent anymore. Now there's just huge screens everywhere. In the subway, in elevators, on buses, convenience store doors, outside, and the most prevalent screen of all, people walking around staring at their phones. Social media here, as with everywhere in the world, is becoming the air that everyone breathes. I know I'm a part of that, and I definitely spend too much time on my phone myself too. But when I'm riding around, a useful phrase is "앞에 look forward, because I've had a few near misses from people looking down at their phones.
Makes it all happen.
And let's get to bikes. The bike scene's evolved through the years. Back then, I was fully in the Korean fixed gear craze of riding around on brakeless steel track bikes. There's still younger Korean fixed gear kids around, but they're on their carbon fixed gear bikes with huge wide handlebars. And the majority of riders are on mega expensive carbon road bikes. But there's a cool scene growing of people on comfy steel bikes. A growing scene thanks to lots of my friends. But perhaps the biggest change is myself. I came here as a 20-something-year-old who partied every weekend, didn't speak Korean, mostly hung around with other foreigners or Koreans who could speak English. Now I'm approaching middle age, can speak Korean quite well, mostly have Korean friends, married to a Korean, and I have Korean kids who will one day be correcting my pronunciation. Who knows how much longer I'll be here, but I'm very happy with where I am now.